Whoa. I get so scared when I see that red light up.
It is pretty. Why is that? Like, what is that in the human condition that makes us so scared?
It's kind of like how like with a text message, like people are like, please don't call me, dude. Like that gets me so nervous. But like you could text all day because like with a text, you type it out and then you can read it and then you can undo it and then say something else. You have a buffer period before it goes from your brain to your mouth to the person's ears.
You
But
know
when
what
you're on
weirds
the
me out?
phone, there's no buffer between you speaking and them hearing it. And you're like, maybe I shouldn't have said it like that.
See, I like that though. I feel like
Yeah,
that's like
you
living on
you
the
would
edge.
you would like that.
I'd rather have that than I would rather have read receipts any day of the week because those are just the scariest.
Oh
Like when
yeah,
you say
true.
something to someone and then all it says is they've seen it when you're literally talking about something super important and you're just like, okay, bro, I know you're just freaking watching some Naruto right now or something. So,
Yeah, yeah,
you could just really you can answer this goddamn text because I'm trying to like, what do you want to do this or you not want to do this? Like, like the
yeah.
hotel is booked.
Yeah.
Like, are we going on this trip or not? It's in 2 days. And you're sitting there watching Naruto. Like, that was
Yeah.
literally a situation that happened to me like 3 weeks ago. And guess what? The trip didn't happen. Shout out Mike Molnar, who does listen
Dude,
to the podcast.
shout out Mike Molnar. Remember when we were gonna go see Third Eye Blind?
Mike, patterns emerge.
Mike.
Anyways, Andrew, we do have a decent amount of time for this episode today, but we don't
That's
have the
true.
most amount of time. So,
That's true. Well, I'm gonna start it by asking you a question, if
with
you
the
don't mind.
question, yeah, would the question be, who are we talking about today?
Indirectly, I guess. What I was
Okay,
gonna
I'll take a
ask
fan. I'll take
you
a fan. Visual bit.
specifically, what I was gonna ask you
YouTube.com slash
specific,
talking with Andrew and Chris. Sorry.
what I'm gonna ask you specifically is, have you heard Taylor Swift's new surprise album, Folklore?
I have. Why do you
Really?
ask?
Well, because I also listened to Taylor Swift's surprise album, Folklore, and I was curious since we literally haven't spoken about it at all, one little bit through any form of communication. Just want to know what you thought of it. You like it? You don't like it? Let's figured we could get into that. You got about an hour to talk about it.
If that's the topic you want to cover today, I mean, we kind of
Listen,
just,
I know that we've never done it before in our entire lives, and I'll get into that. But do you want to spend an hour talking about Taylor Swift?
well, Sun Tzu did say, know thy enemy. And so, with that being said, I am definitely down to speak about Taylor Swift, too. By the way, that was
Wow.
just a joke because I'm currently reading The Art of War. I actually really love Taylor
Wow.
Swift. She's not an enemy at all. In
It's a,
fact, I
it's a
hope we
good
can be
good
friends one
read.
day.
Yeah,
So,
same, same.
it's a
Um,
slog, let's be honest. It's just so much in one book. It's only like
right.
180 pages and it's thick with knowledge, but look, there's a lot to do at my job and I can let my brain rot by sitting there listening to music all day or I can stimulate it the few seconds I have in between
Yeah.
washing golf carts. I'm choosing to
Music
stimulate it.
music is so mind rotting, dude.
Well, you know what I mean. It's just like over and over again. And it's like, okay, like I enjoyed listening to a lot of music today, but what do I have to show for it? You know?
Right, right. No, I got you. I got you.
Maybe that's bad fodder to start off our music talk show.
No, listen, listen.
But
We can
I'm just
listen.
being
Let's
honest, man.
listen. Why? Since you started it, let's just air it out. All right. I have spent Taylor Swift's entire career up until a few days ago, probably, uh, being a Taylor Swift hater, 100%. Like when she first came out, I just didn't really care. I didn't have any opinion on her. I was just like, yeah, whatever, country girl, sing her songs, I don't care. But I don't know if it was the fans or if it was like the coverage of her or if it was my ex-girlfriend telling me just the most annoying things about her that I just didn't care about and made me angry to listen to. I don't know what it was, but at some point I didn't like her. I just decided I didn't like her as a person. I just decided I knew who she was and I was like, I don't like her. And I've decided that because I don't like her, she can't sing and she can't write songs and she can't dance. And that was just how I was living my life.
You know who also can't dance?
Who?
Phil Collins. I can't dance. Anyways, great song. I would love to do a Phil Collins episode, but
Well, yeah,
yeah.
we'll get there. We'll get there.
I also want to ask the audience, how do you feel about Taylor Swift? And let us know in the comments below. If you're audio listening right now, we are on YouTube. That is youtube.com/talking with Andrew and Chris. Please subscribe. Please like this episode. We want to go live one day, but we don't have enough of you there yet to do that. So if you
Right,
want to
right.
interact with us as we do this, that's the one-way ticket to doing that.
Yeah. And if you
So,
think that it's silly when it's just the two of us recording an episode, then you have no idea how weird we can get with an audience to egg us on.
and also just how much fun would it be to have, like last week when we did the boy band episode, have people interacting and being like, "Yo, you guys suck. The Beatles are in a boy band," or people being like, "Wow, I didn't think about it like that." Like that would be
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah. Or
I would
like
like
F
that.
F you guys, Harry Styles sucks. It's all about Louis. You guys didn't give Louis enough love. I would I would
Exactly.
listen, I would love to get into some dumbass arguments in the comments. All right. I'm
Me,
into that.
me as well. Well, yeah, and just discussions. They don't always have to be arguments. Let's not
Of
be too
course, of course.
tribalized. But with that being said, someone who I think essentially was sort of painting the political landscape with just like how people felt about her and how marginalized people were either on one side or the other side is Taylor Swift.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
I don't really know why this happened. So we can get up to folklore, but if it's okay with you, I kind of
Mhm.
want to go back to like the beginning as far as what I know about her beginnings. I'm not saying that I
Okay.
was out there listening to like what is Fearless, one of the early albums, right? That's one of the
That's
name.
the second album, yeah.
That's the
First
second
album
album.
is just self-titled.
Self-titled. That's what I thought.
The
I,
hit
I
the hits on the first one were Tim McGraw, which I honestly haven't listened to, and Teardrops on My Guitar, which that song
it's a banger.
that song is flames. Listen, there's a piano radio single one, or not piano, just radio version, which was fine, but the pop version, wow, blew
So
me away.
having watched the documentary, like how much of her earlier history do they go into? Because for me,
Not a
she
lot.
wasn't there, and then all of a sudden I heard like, what's that one song? "You Belong with Me." I'm gonna try not
Right,
to sing too much on this podcast because I remember we're on YouTube now, and that is not okay. But I just
right.
remember like out of nowhere, "You Belong with Me" came out, and it just was incredibly
Yep.
huge. And before then, apparently she had like, which I gone back and which I went back and listened to like "You." I thought that that was a great song. Really
Mhm.
enjoy that one. But she was obviously just gonna stay in that like country pop realm. But then I feel like "You Belong with Me" was like her first like, oh wow, there's a little bit of Michelle Branch in there. There's a little bit of like, not quite like sorry,
Right.
not Christina Aguilera. Who's the other one? The more Avril Lavigne, but it just not as punk, but like that
Mhm,
feel
mhm.
on the chorus.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Like the
Yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
rock vibe.
Yeah, I'll admit when Folklore came out and I listened to it and I was like, "Hold on, this I like a Taylor Swift album? What's happening to me? I don't know what's going on." So then I started to just like I had like a grown-up moment where I was like, "Wait a minute. I don't even remember why I don't like her. I should just give her a chance." And then I did, and I'm glad I did. But
Yeah, why
I've
didn't
been
you like her, by the way? I think that'd be interesting to get into.
I mean, I think part of it is definitely the fan base because it's the same reason why like I had similar feelings toward the 1975 and 5 Seconds of Summer, like when they were like ginormous, like the biggest they were, because it was like all these people on Twitter were just like, oh my God, like the 1975 are changing music, and like, oh my God, 5 Seconds of Summer are the greatest band to have ever lived. Like they're so cool and punk rock. And I'm like, what am I looking at right now? I'm like, I've barely heard of these guys, and these people are like crying over these people. I'm like, these people are weird. So I think
Yeah.
that definitely, when a fan base is like, you have to listen to this person because if you don't, you're an uncultured swine because they're literally making history. Then I'm like, you're freaking me out, and I don't like that
Yeah, right? It's
personally.
like, whoa, Stalin, why don't you just calm down a bit? Like I have my
Exactly.
own
It's
opinions.
just and it's just like when people are like, "Wait, you haven't seen this movie or this TV show? What's wrong with you? It's so good. You have to." Like it will
Yeah.
change your life. And then you're like, now you're telling me to go watch something expecting myself to not be the same after watching it. Like you can't go into anything thinking that because then you're just gonna be disappointed. And that was just my life with that. So that happened
Right.
with Taylor Swift. But then also on a personal note, I was dating a girl that I'm not gonna get into because she was not very nice to me when I was dating her, but that's just another story. She loved Taylor Swift. She was always telling me like, oh, she, writes all of her own songs like by herself. And then like when I was there, Red came out, which has like I Knew You Were Trouble and 22 and all that stuff. And I Knew You Were Trouble has like a kind of, I mean, very barely dubstep vibe. It does the boo whoa,
Her first
does that thing.
flirtation with
Right, right, right. And I
pop.
remember she was like, "Oh, well, like, your friend's band doesn't write their own songs." And I'm like, "They didn't write two of them, and they've written every single one after that, but whatever." And I'm like,
Mhm.
"Taylor Swift doesn't write her songs." And she's like, "What do you mean?" She said she wanted to put dubstep into a song, and I'm like, wanting to put something into a song and then being able to put it into a song are two different things. Also, have you heard of Max Martin? But whatever. So it was stuff like that, and
Right.
then I was just like, forget Taylor Swift, she's annoying. And then like the Kanye stuff came out, and I'm sure that I just sided on the people that are like, oh, this girl's like all whiny and she's whatever, like a spoiled brat or whatever. And I was probably just like, hell yeah, she's a spoiled brat. This girl's stupid and annoying.
Which,
And
by
I
the
was
way,
just feeding into all that.
just to give my little take on the whole Kanye situation. I actually like really enjoy Kanye. Yeezus was, I think I forgot to put it in our episode that never aired about my top 10 favorite albums of last decade. Like I actually really
Right.
enjoy Kanye. I have a lot of good memories listening to his music, and I just think as a
Hmm.
person, I think that he is just he needs like a real friend. I feel like he doesn't have a real friend, and
Well, I mean, it just came out also that, like Kim Kardashian was just talking about how he's bipolar and stuff, which definitely plays a
oh,
big part
I
into
didn't know
like,
that. Okay, yeah, so
yeah,
that's what I
yeah,
mean. Like
because
he
he
needs
had
a
a
friend,
whole
I
he
think.
had a whole meltdown on Twitter recently where he was like, Kim and Chris are trying to get me to go to a mental hospital, and like
Mhm.
I could have beaten Biden running for president, but like I didn't want to, and all this
So
other stuff. And like people are like, dude, what's wrong with you? And then Kim Kardashian came out and was like, he has bipolar disorder. We're trying to like figure this all out. Obviously, that's why he gets all like crazy on Twitter and stuff because he has
side note, is she
episodes,
like
whatever.
supporting him though?
Oh yeah, yeah. No, she's with
All
him.
right,
She's
that's
not
cool.
like fuck you. She's like, guys, just try to understand he's like going through some shit.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah. So that's I'm actually glad that you brought that up because like I was gonna sort of say like that is kind of why I don't know these types of things because
Hmm.
so I also never really got the whole Taylor Swift coming out and people hating her thing. I've always been into the type of music that I was into. And I had a brief moment, like, a year and a half ago, where I was into the pop culture associated with the pop music, but that's never really been where I've stood. I've liked a lot of mainstream artists. Like, for example, Taylor Swift's Red album, apparently, Spotify says, is one of my go-to records in their thing. I don't think I listen to
That's
that much
funny.
music anymore that isn't Billy Joel. Like I listen to a lot of music, but it's mostly Billy Joel. So
And
that's
and ska.
and Scott. Yeah, but I mean that's a given. And so that's kind of like, but I never really knew the reasons behind the Kanye thing. I never really knew why
Right.
people were hating her. So that's for me. It's just like
Well.
I like her a lot for just the writing, the songwriting, the music.
Hmm.
I know it's like pop and it's like generic and sometimes it's, but I think she's like top tier at that. And
Hmm.
also pop music is very intricate too if you study it and you get into it and go on to make it like we did for a little while there. So it's kind of interesting that we kind of come at it from two different perspectives. Our journey with someone who was the what was it, number one artist of last decade? They gave her the award at the Grammys or something, most influential artist.
Probably something like that. I know
She
that
won one
her
of those. I'll look it up right now.
what was it? Oh, they just said it in the documentary I watched. She had an album, I think, either an album or a song that was at the number one spot for like longer than anyone except I think the Beatles or Michael Jackson. It was one of those two. That was like she was at the top for like such a long time that the only person that was there longer were either the Beatles or Michael Jackson. I can't remember which one,
Yep,
but
yep. So
but
basically, it
she's
says right now,
definitely
this
she's
comes
she's hit
from
it big.
yeah, this comes from ctvnews.ca. Taylor Swift has moonwalked past Michael Jackson's record at the 2019 American Music Awards, taking home 6 honors, including Artist of the
Oh,
Year and Artist of the Decade. So the
okay.
AMAs.
That wasn't
Out
what I
for
was
her.
talking about, but that's also great.
Yeah. So she's like, whether you like her or not, she's here to stay at this point.
Oh yeah.
Very
Yeah.
influential figure.
Yeah, and that's another thing too. In my brain, because like I was a hater and I didn't care to fact check if any of my hate was, true or not. That I just assumed that she like I figured that she wrote some lyrics because like obviously another thing that like if you don't know anything about Taylor Swift, one of the things you quote unquote know about her is that she dates guys, breaks up with them, and writes songs about them. That was a thing. So it was like I was like, well, I think it'd be kind of weird if a producer was trying to write lyrics about her relationships and stuff. Right, exactly. That song is a good example of that
Visual
visual
bit.
bit. And but then I go back and I look at all these song credits and stuff, and I'm like, she's written all these songs. She's at least co-written every song, and on a lot of songs, she's the only writer. Like even in the pop, like on 1989, on Lover, on Red, like there are at least a couple songs that she's the only songwriter. And looking at the documentary or looking at
Insane.
like the writing process, like even the weird like you would call them like little like pop nuances like the ahs or like a ooh ah ooh ah, like she comes up with that shit while she's writing on a guitar, which I didn't know, and I was like, that's impressive to me. I thought that was really
Right.
cool.
And
So
and
like
so to
i'm
go back
learning
to
that i'm learning that not only is she like not as annoying as I thought she was, but she's also extremely talented.
Yeah, and like obviously she's not, Stevie Ray Vaughan or anything on the guitar, but most of the times there is a trade-off when you're a musician. You kind of got to choose, are you going to be a songwriter or are you going to be very technically adept? If you have
Right.
both, you're very lucky. Your name's probably
Sh-
Chris Griotti and you're probably writing for a lot of big famous musicians right now. Shout out
Shout out
Chris, but
Chris G.
but like not everyone has both. So I think
Yeah,
she
she is
kind of plays
also
to her
though.
strength in that regard.
She is a pretty good piano player though. But you're right,
Oh, really? Yeah.
she's not like a virtuoso and like she's not playing classical stuff or whatever. But like she can definitely play and like she can play and sing complicated shit and she can play and talk, which I feel like can sometimes be so hard for people. Like to
Yeah.
just like calmly play like in time the piano chords and stuff, but also just talk like not in a weird rhythm and just a normal rhythm. Like I was like, that hurts my brain looking at it because I haven't played an instrument and sang a lot, and arguably I'm playing the easiest instrument there is to play and singing parts that aren't that hard to sing, and it was still like such a weird thing that you have to like tell your brain to do. Like it's not
Yeah.
just like okay, I know the words and I know the part, so I just play it and do them at the same time. It's like your brain is like, wait, your mouth and your voice, but also your hands and your brain, and you're like trying to listen and sing and play, and you're
Mhm.
like, and it's
So I
crazy.
mean, I think
So
you can make that argument about the bass, which is the instrument you play, but I don't know. I think there are a lot of people who can play an instrument, but the second they have a drummer behind them, they just can't keep rhythm and things like that. So I don't think
well,
you gave
yeah.
yourself enough credit there. We
Well,
also
listen,
played with
the
tracks,
bass,
which is
I
difficult.
think that's true. I think that the bass is one of the easiest instruments to learn how to play, but obviously not one of the easiest to master.
I couldn't agree more. We'll have to do our Victor Wooten episode at a different date. Maybe
True,
even throw a
and
little Flea
Jocko.
in there. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, yeah.
But no, back
Anyway,
to Taylor Swift and
back
her
to
writing
Taylor
because I
Swift.
kind of had
Yes.
something I wanted to say about that. You brought up earlier the song "I Knew This Was Trouble." And
Hmm.
I think that's a great example of where the press and where the music press and where social media kind of doesn't understand what they're talking about. So obviously Taylor Swift is on tour 24/7. She's doing press circuits when she's not on tour. She's, doing Instagram lives. She's constantly out there with her fan base nonstop. They cut so many records at that level of success.
Right.
They probably cut like 300-400 songs in a year and they use like 24 of them. So she's always working. She doesn't have time to work on the production side. So she has a team and they find someone like, for example, let's say like a Zed or whatever. I don't know if he did that song, but someone like
Max
that.
Martin and Shellback.
So perfect. Great example. So Max Martin to, write the music, produce the electronic part, but guys, it's still chords. Like I'm sure she went in there with like her acoustic guitar. However it
Yeah.
started,
As
it
far as
probably all started with an acoustic guitar and someone played a G. I knew
Mhm.
you were. Where can this go next? C. Oh, okay. That kind of works.
It's
It's
basically
not so
as
people
far
don't
as
know what
I
they're
could
talking about.
tell, as far as I could tell from the research that I've done, again, I've
Yeah,
only
you've done
been
a
a
lot,
Taylor Swift fan for,
like a
less
week.
than a week, about a week. But from what I saw, it's basically like she writes all of her songs like on the piano or on the guitar, and then she knows, what producer she's going to work with or whatever, and then she either she said she said on one thing that she tries to send whoever she's working with like a like a demo the day or two before they're working together in case that they go, I hate this, I want to work on something else. Like so that
So
she doesn't get
she
there.
always brings a concept, at least to the writer's
Yeah.
room.
Yeah,
Yeah.
always. She
So
always has
that's
something. And like there was a voice. There's a on the deluxe edition of 1989. There's a voice memo thing for the song "I Know Places," which was co-written and produced by Ryan Tedder of One
mhm.
Republic. Uh, Also a very talented singer, songwriter, producer.
Yes,
And
very.
she like plays the voice memo that she sent him, and it's literally just her sitting at the piano, like playing the very beginning and doing the I. And I was like, that's crazy to me that she thought of that part already while she was playing the piano. And like she sings the verse or whatever, and she's like, yeah. And then I just want it to be like this dark pop song, and it goes into like a big chorus. You know what I'm getting at, and like that's what she said. And I'm like, yeah, see, that's what the producer's for. She's like, I have a song, I have the feel of the song. Help me get that feel out sonically with the right sounds. And then
Yeah,
because
that's
she didn't
still
have,
huge
I
too.
don't know if I don't know who did what in the chorus, but the voice memo didn't have the chorus. And then when you listen to the chorus, it's just like it's exactly what needed to be there, and it all leads up to it, and it's just all really good. But she always comes up with the song, and then the producers just produce the crap out of it pretty much.
And that's the thing too. It's like any job has quotas, you know? And so
Mhm.
she's yes, she gets to be a celebrity, but she is employed as a musician from the label, you know, and it's a mutual agreement where they're going to market her. If she gives them the results, they're going to market her more. If they start making money, they're going to throw more money into her. She becomes a machine. She becomes a celebrity. That's how it works. So she needs to come up with the product. All businesses need something to sell. But when you're a business, you staff up, right? You hire employees, you hire
Mhm.
people for the
She's
production
got her
thing. You have to get
13
the product
management
out
team.
there. Yeah. So I mean, you know, sometimes it's okay to have a producer. Like I never understood how people could find out that someone like Drake never writes anything of his own, or someone like
Right. The
Rihanna, who's
ghostwriter. Yeah, yeah,
an
yeah.
amazing singer, but she doesn't write her own music. That's
Or
fairly
like
public
Pink.
information. Right, exactly. Pink. But she's not, it's not that they're like not contributing to the song though. They're putting
Right.
their performance on it. But then someone like Taylor Swift, who maybe she doesn't write too much of her songs sometimes, still gets all the flack. I just don't understand why some of these people come under such a lens about it
Well,
and others don't. It's just, you
that's
know,
that's
because
one of
it's
the
like,
things. It's I'm glad that you brought it up like that because that's one of the things that she talks about in her Netflix documentary, Miss Americana, that I watched last night.
hmm,
She was saying like every artist, like pop artist, has to have some sort of niche, even if it's like a really small niche. Like you need something to be different and interesting so that people give a crap about you, you know? And she was like, for me, it's I guess it's my storytelling. Like the fact that I write my own songs is like my thing, and that's why people connect with me. Like if I was just singing bland songs, like I'd be forgotten about because that's not special. And she was saying that like her stories and the fact that she writes the songs makes it special. So then that there was another point where she was saying like, you know, she puts out music and she stays quiet and she's nice, then she's like annoying and uptight or something, but then like she speaks out and she's annoying and loud or bossy or whatever it is. So it's like she's like at this point it feels like it's more than just me making music. It's like I have to make music but also try to like defend myself and like say why I do things. And it's like that's something that I can never understand because I've obviously never had to go through that, but it's also like such a crazy thing to think about that you can get to a point where like you're a songwriter and you're like, all I've wanted to do my whole life was be a singer songwriter. I'm writing these songs, I'm putting them out, and now all of a sudden it's like you also have to like prove something to people that I'm writing these songs because I want to do this and not because I want to do this, or like I'm a good singer and like I'm writing these songs, but like they have this production on it, so now you don't think that I'm the one writing it or whatever it is. It's just like it's
right. I think,
the music industry is fucking crazy, and there was some article in that documentary that said like Taylor Swift is the music industry when she was like huge, like she became massive,
still huge, obviously, but
still huge, but I'm saying like there was a point where like it was like she was here and then she went up and then she kind of got some hate and then she came back and then she got some hate and then she just like whoosh,
the graph always goes up, doesn't it?
it always goes up.
Yeah. So here's my take on all that because it's pretty interesting to sort of see like it's almost in a sense you're almost favored by the public more if you're a little more helpless as like a mainstream pop artist in the sense that you don't write your own songs, you're told what to wear, what to do,
Mm-hmm.
where to go, and I wonder if
Like I
that's
feel
just
like
like
Katy
envy,
Perry
you
has
know?
never had that hate. Like I don't, no one knows Katy Perry as a songwriter, but like,
No, is
but
she? I
maybe
don't know if
that
she is.
but maybe that's why. Maybe because Taylor Swift is like, yeah, I'm a songwriter. And then if anyone is like, well, then why is Max Martin on I Knew You Were Trouble? And it's like,
Right.
whoa, like,
Max Martin was also on "It's My Life" by Bon Jovi. Look it up. You know,
he's also,
sometimes
he also wrote Oops, I Did It Again and Baby One More Time.
right. And we'll have to do a
And
Max
list
Martin podcast at this
and
point.
guess what, Kelly Clarkson fans? Avril Lavigne wrote Breakaway. Get
Right.
over it.
But here's the thing, like it's like I just never understood why, and I think it's just public envy, you know, because they're like, oh
Oh,
wow, like
absolutely.
she's not just helpless, she's kind of paving this way for herself, and
Hmm.
she's fearless. Not to just do that, but
She
like,
is fearless.
dude, she got so much flack for that commercial where she was like running on that treadmill for Nike, but like, you know what? Jokes on her or whatever because she made so much money off that. Like, and
Yeah.
just there's so many like the bad blood video. Everyone's like, what is she trying to do right now? Well, she got a lot of YouTube views and made a lot of money off of it. Whether it was
Yeah.
Big Machine Group or her, which I don't want to get into like the legal history of all that. You guys can look
Right,
it up.
right, right.
She wasn't always the smartest artist, let's put it that way. She signed a, but no one knows they're going to get that huge. She didn't sign the
Right.
best deal early
And
on, but it's like,
and she was one of Big Machine's big like first signings. Like it's not like she was like,
right.
"Oh, this huge label can help me out." Oh no, they took advantage of me. It was like, "Oh, this small label that wants to work with me." Like, yeah, hell yeah, let's do it.
And I think a reason why she rose to the top is because you have a lot of the same. when you're trying to
Mhm.
be in that mainstream pop world. You know, like how many Chainsmokers clones can you think of? How many Kygo clones can you think of? There's so
Right.
many, dude. There's, yeah, and sure, some of them land in like comfortable little pockets of like a couple 100,000 listeners, maybe even a couple million listeners on Spotify, and they can do like these small club shows, but they're just kind of following the trends that are set from the album, and then it's like whoever can quickly replicate it the next is like the one who gets like the second bump, you know. But
Right.
they're not like paving their own way, and I think what she did with each record was artist progression, artist growth, which
Mhm.
even if it
Mhm.
is pop, it's still artist progression and it's still artist growth. So to go from
Right.
like a country singer songwriter to like wanting to be a pop artist, I don't personally, this is my opinion now, I don't think that she ever said once, well, now I want to be a pop star. I just think she made amazing pop music because it's what she wanted to do. And so, you know, the rest was history. But
Well,
I think it's a lot of
because
public envy, really, is my full take
yes,
on it. Or hate.
absolutely. We're all guilty of it. Like, I'm sure part of the reason why I was a 1975 and 5 Seconds of Summer hater was because, deep down I was like, why isn't that me? I want to be doing that. Like, why didn't that happen to me? Like, these guys are annoying and like stupid, and all these girls love them, and I'm not annoying and stupid, so why don't all these girls love me? Like,
And
it
her songs
happens.
are super simple. They're not
Yeah.
intricate at the surface, so they seem easy to do. They seem
Right,
easy to
exactly.
write.
It doesn't seem like that they have anything that I don't. It just seems like they're
Hmm.
at the place that I want to be at, and I'm like, what the hell? Especially when those people are younger than you, you're like, what the hell, dude?
But no one wants to talk about the countless hours they spent
Yeah.
crafting
Oh
those
yeah.
songs, making sure every
Crafting the
syllable
songs,
count.
like handing out CDs and lines at dumb other shows, handing out flyers, like following thousands of girls who don't know who they are just to be like, please listen to our song that we just put out. Like I get it.
Yeah, so we
And
kind of
and
covered,
she
I
was
think.
saying, she was saying like what you said about how she was country and then she was pop and she was just doing whatever. Like, she mentions in the documentary that she has to like constantly reinvent herself every time because like when you're a pop singer, especially a girl, which is also I'm sure another reason why she was getting so much shit is just because she's a woman. So like women obviously just there's some weird double standard with women where it's like either you're successful and you're like bossy and scary, or you're not successful and you're like quiet and docile and dumb or something. I don't know, um, but what I was saying is like she has to reinvent herself every time, and she's like, your fans are like, well, we want you to be the same because we love you and we want to be comfortable, but you need to be new and exciting so that we don't get bored, and you need to be young so that you're shiny and fun, but don't get too crazy because then we're uncomfortable, but you need to be entertaining. And it's like, how is anyone supposed to like do that?
Oh,
Like, people being like, we want you to be cool and we want you to stay the same because that's why I loved you. But if you stay the same, I'm going to get bored. And I want you to stay young because it makes me feel young. But if you're like weird and juvenile, then I'm uncomfortable. So like, don't get too grown up because then I'm also going to be uncomfortable. I need you to just be exactly where I want you to be, even though I don't know what I want because I'm a fan and no one knows what they want before it comes out.
yeah,
It's
that
like,
that that comes down to what I think is a bigger issue with marketing in music, and it's kind of why
right,
I'm very very happy that it seems to be the fall of the label is upon us as we know it, the old guard, if you will, because
right.
I think when an artist is able to own 100% of what they want, of what they of what they create, what they produce rather, then what they want is 100% of what you get. You're starting to see it a lot more with independent bands, but even on a bigger scale, look at Chance the Rapper. I mean, as
Mm-hmm.
far as I know, he is 100% fully owned. He obviously has collaborators like an agent, like a manager, but at the end of the day, he's the head of all of his companies. And so, as far as I know, again,
He's
keyword
got a
here,
team, but he's not signed to anybody.
yeah, his vision is 100% what he wants to put
Right.
out there. And I think that's why he is such a groundbreaking artist. Love him or hate him, you at least know about him if you're into music and into the culture of music and like the business side of music. So I feel like she's similar. You know, she
Mm-hmm.
broke away from the label and she sort of fought for her rights, even though, you signed the deal. So it's going to be hard to get out of that one. I'm not really sure where the lawsuit's going, but like
Right.
going
I
forward,
I
when you
don't
look at
remember that.
folklore, dude, how do
But
you
I
go
also
from,
know, that like we're not going to get into it right now, but I also know looking into it that like that group and like Scooter Braun, maybe not him personally, but at least his company has done like some sketchy shit like that to
yeah,
people that they work with, which like is the industry, but at the same time it's like it's kind of like a gray area thing where it's like, yeah, maybe they shouldn't have done that and it's like messed up, but at the same time, like you could have had a better lawyer, you could have read through it more, you didn't have to sign it, whatever. But that's where
hey
we are.
man, been there, done that. I
Yeah, yeah,
but I can
true.
say I can say I understand in regards to that. And I'm sure you as well can sort of sympathize a little bit. But it's one of those things where like you never expect to get that big because you're doing something that
Yeah,
so many people are doing. So to rise to the
right.
top, I think, is a true testament of her artistry.
Hmm.
And you can debate me all day if you want about
And
that. My Instagram's
she
right
is,
there.
yeah. You listen at me if you want. I don't care. Follow me.
But real quick, I just kind of
But
wanted to say like that's why I think like now in this sort of
yeah,
like I think not legacy part of her career, but she's certainly solidified herself as someone who's here to stay in the pop zeitgeist, which already is hard to do. How many one-hit
right.
wonders can you name? Like Tovlo, "Got to Stay High." Where did she go after that song? You know what I mean?
Talking bodies, right?
Was that really that big of a hit though? I don't know if it was. Not
I
to the
guess
same
not.
extent.
Yeah.
And where did her?
Right.
Like it's been like 6 years since that song came out. Now where are the string of hits? You know,
Right.
like
Right.
I know we know some people who know him and no diss, but like the Ready Set had Love Like Whoa for like a minute. Couldn't follow it up. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like not that those aren't great songs, they are. But it's just
Right.
so tough. So to solidify yourself, I think you get into the golden age of a pop star. Like we're starting to see
Hmm.
with Ed Sheeran, who I'd love to do a podcast on as well, where it's like, okay, so I did the Red album and there was a few pop hits, so then naturally my record after that 1989 is going to be a little more of that because I'm a part of a big machine, no pun intended, and they also have a say in what I do. So we're going to cut a little bit of the country songs, and there wasn't any country songs on 1989. They kind of took the "We Are Never Ever Getting Back Together" and the 22s of the world and just made like a little less guitar, a little more synth-driven album. It also changed with the times, but now she's out of the contract. That she solidified herself as a player. I think kind of like a Michael Jackson level. Like we just read that quote earlier. She's achieved
Hmm.
something that before her only Michael Jackson did in music. So now we kind of get like the artist side. So she put out the album. I think it was called Lover, right? The one with me and Brennan Urie.
Hmm.
And I mean,
Yeah, that was last year. Yeah.
I don't think that record was a flop because I think when you get that big, people are going to listen to it
It
anyways.
it was not a flop at all.
Yeah, I don't think it was as well received as some of her other records, but it also kind of felt like that wasn't really what was happening in pop music at the point in time. It was a little more like, in my opinion, to like early 2010s pop. It wasn't like the hip Chainsmokersy drop type pop that like even Katy
Well,
Perry started to fall into and stuff. So now I think you're starting to get with folklore like the true artistry of her with these past two albums because she solidified herself. So I think she's gonna get more hate, but I also think it's
what
gonna
I
be
think.
for the fans something very enjoyable. Andrew, go ahead.
Well, thank you, Chris. Well said.
Thank you. I hope it
Um,
made sense. It made sense in my head.
what I was gonna say is that I would say that Lover definitely did well. Um, but I think visual bit, but I think that the reason why it seemed like that Lover wasn't that big was because last year, especially, like the big thing was bands. Like it was all 1975, the band Camino, Laney, stuff like that. Bad Sons, whatever. Like it was all bands and Harry Styles, I guess, but he sounded the same as those bands, so
True, he did.
whatever. And so I feel like it was that and like Sad Summer, and like some crazy pop punk resurgence stuff was going on, like
That's true. My
so I
Chemical
think
Romance
so
came back.
right. So it's not so much that like Lover wasn't huge because like the singles on it, like I forgot that these singles were on this album because I was like, holy crap, like I remember these singles. Um so I don't it's not that it wasn't that huge. It was just that it wasn't, like the type of thing that was the number one thing at that moment. So as much there were people talking about it, but there were just more people talking about thanks. The other stuff. I think Chris has decided that when I'm talking, he's going to no longer speak with his mouth. He's only going to speak via visual gags.
YouTube.com/talking with Andrew and Chris. Andrew, go ahead.
Exactly. Um, yeah, I mean, listen, 1989 was like the album, like, because, dude, there's this part of the documentary which, like, on the one hand, like, my immediate reaction was like, this is not a relatable moment. So it's like kind of weird to watch. But then at the same time, I was like, but I also understand like the humanness of it. Like there's a part in it where she's getting a call from, I guess, her manager or somebody, waiting to hear about Grammy nominations for when after she put out Reputation, which was wait, no.
It was after 1989. Yeah, it was the record
Yeah,
after
but now I'm trying to remember. Maybe it was about Red. I don't remember what album it was about because I think whichever album won a
Oh, you're
Grammy.
talking about something from the doc. Gotcha.
Yeah, whichever album won a Grammy. This is the album before that that she was waiting to hear about if she got nominated for a Grammy, and
Can you look that up?
she our producer's name is not Jamie, for the record.
I wish it was. We'd be making a lot of money.
Um. Anyway, she gets a call and she's like, "Yeah, so as far as the album of the year, or whatever it was, goes, you didn't get nominated."
It
And
was
she like,
1989. It won 3 awards at the 58th Annual Grammy Awards, including her second album of the year win, making her the first woman. Okay, that might not be the one then. Damn. Which one didn't win then? See, it's hard when you have
I
an
guess
artist
it
who's
was
influential.
Red. Well, it was also like that documentary covered like a couple of years, and I couldn't figure out when it was, and I don't remember, and I only watched it once last night. So
It was like not the
either
best
way,
documentary.
either way, the album names don't really matter right now. She gets a call. Her album is not nominated for a Grammy. She's very upset about that. You know, she works very hard on music, and literally, like she just says on the phone, like the lady's like, so as far as this album goes, like you're not nominated." And she goes,
Oh, it was
"That's
Red. It was
good."
Red.
It was Red that wasn't
Yep,
nominated.
because she won it
Cool.
for Fearless in 2010, and she felt that it was a way stronger effort. And it
There
says
you go.
from Billboard that like it was way better received by the fan base. Everything had been going up, like we spoke about, and
Hmm.
so she credited it
There
to
you go.
politics. So
Right. And then so she was like, "Yep, that's fine. I just have to make a better record." And the lady on the phone was like, "Well, I mean, I'm still gonna wait for the pop stuff and all this other stuff, so don't get crazy." And she's like, "No, I'm gonna make a better record." And I'm like, that's such a crazy thing to think about. Like, obviously, I can't relate to winning a Grammy, waiting to find out if I'm nominated for another Grammy, and then being upset when I didn't get nominated for a Grammy. I can't relate to that because I'm not there. But I can relate to working really hard, being very proud of something, and then somebody being like, "Eh, that was okay," and you're like, "But you liked the other thing I did, and this is so much better." And they're like, "Eh," and you're
yeah,
like,
like there's not enough
"What?"
passion in the vocals or something like that.
Right, like exactly, Chris, exactly that kind of thing where you're like, "I don't know what you're talking about, but like I can't argue with you because you're the one who decides it, so whatever." And then she comes back and makes 1989, in my opinion, her best album ever. And I was just like, damn,
And
that's
Andrew, if
crazy.
I
That's
will,
crazy that she already wrote a Grammy winning album, then writes another album that at least her fans are like, this album is amazing. And then she goes, okay, I have to make a better album and I will. And then she does. And I have to applaud that. Like,
yeah.
it's because it's one thing to just want to make a better album. Obviously, everybody always wants to make a better one, but you don't always. And she just decided to and did.
Right, and a big part of what I enjoy doing, not that I've done it publicly, is just highlighting hypocrisy lately. I feel like there's just a lot of that going around, and so I kind of want to say, like that comment that I made, it comes from personal experience where Andrew and I were talking to someone to potentially work with in our old band, and we had first gotten a comment that the vocals didn't have enough passion, and then 3 months go by, and we send them the same song, same recording, no different, and we get offered a contract. So it's just all a bunch of politics. That's why I respect her so much for sticking to her guns, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And
And
so
she's gone through so much shit like that where like first like there's a whole part about when and I remember when this happened. I forgot that it happened, but then watching the documentary I was like, "Oh yeah, that did bother me because I was dumb back then."
and I want
She
to just oh, go
well,
ahead.
I
I'm
was,
sorry.
yeah, sorry. It's like she never talked about politics, and like if someone asked her about politics she's like, "Oh well, I'm a singer, and like obviously I do care about politics and I have an opinion and like whatever, but people don't really care, like they just want to hear me sing songs, so I'm just going to sing songs." And she was just like, "I'm this nice girl that does." Yeah, dude, come on. My name's first. um where she was just this nice girl that didn't bother anybody and wasn't mean to people or whatever, and then some Tennessee senator was running, and it was a woman who was a Republican who like just Taylor Swift didn't agree with her policies. I'll just put it like that. She didn't like what she stood for, and this senator was winning, and she wasn't like, well, I have to trick, like, tell people to go vote for what I want to vote for. But she was like, please, like there's a scene where she's like begging her management team, basically being like, please, I want to talk about like I'm not trying to come out as like I'm a mega Democrat. Let's all be Democrats, blah blah blah. She's like, I just want to talk about this woman and like how I feel about this because this is the state I live in. This is, a midterm election with senators, and these are issues I care about a lot. I just want to talk about them. and her management team is like, yeah, but we don't want to talk about that and do this. And one of the guys on the team literally goes, all right, Taylor, well, what if I came to you with an idea and told you that this idea will cause half as many people to come to your shows? And I was like, that is a good point. And she's like, I don't care. And like, I want to be on the right side of history. And it's such a crazy thing that like she had to like beg her management team to talk about an opinion she had. And then she shared it, and all of a sudden it's like national news. Like it shows the scene of her like sending the tweet with her mom and her publicist, and they're all like, "Oh my god!" And then like it cuts to like a
I gotta
fucking
watch this. Damn.
and then it cuts to like a blitz of news things that are like Taylor Swift finally comes out about politics and all this other shit. And then it like shows Donald Trump and they're like, how like Taylor Swift's jumping into politics. What do you think about that? And he's like, let's just say I like her music 25% less. And I was like, it's kind of funny to say that.
Wow, that's
And it was like, it was this crazy thing where like, just because she goes, hey, by the way, guys, I'm voting for this guy for senator and not this lady, like everybody in America was like, Taylor Swift is preaching preaching politics and this and that, and she's a dummy and she doesn't know anything and she hates America or this and that and blah blah. And I'm like, all she said was, I'm voting for this guy. That's all she said. And it's just crazy that like I feel like celebrities talk about politics all the time, but like I don't remember them ever getting as much backlash as that when that happened.
dude, and that's the thing, man. Fearless, you know. That
She's
is gonna keep coming back to that, just partly because it's really funny, but also I think it's true. And so
yeah,
I
it
just
seems
want to
that way.
say,
She's one of the most hardworking people in the music industry right now, for sure.
this is what I was talking about with. I have hope for the future of music. Maybe not so much for our country, but for the future of music, because the artist is taking the power back. It's you
Hmm.
know, and she kind of probably, you know, through moments like this realized like I needed the contract maybe to get here. She came out in like the mid 2000s. It was a completely different musical landscape. Social media hadn't become what it was as far as helping artists propel and expand their careers. But I think that those are big moments where it's like, okay, I need the power in my hands now. And I think we're starting to see that, where I know she's still signed to a major, but I'm sure that the leverage she had going into that agreement made it justifiable to sign that deal, you know?
Hmm.
Because to front all the money that I'm sure Big Machine fronted to her would be very difficult to match. It's hard for I think any human being to, you know, go up against the bank, the income of a corporation, unless you're like a billionaire, which she's very rich. Is she a billionaire? I don't know. That'd be
No,
interesting to find out.
I don't think so.
She's definitely, you know, 100 millionaire probably, I would assume, but we also don't know because of how much she didn't get from her contract. But all that aside, all the legal jargon aside, those kind of decisions, knowing you can get
Right.
sued,
I
knowing
think
that.
she's on Republic Records now.
Okay, gotcha. So a little bit of a smaller major, but I'm sure her deal is right where she wants it to be. But I mean, that's just like I
Well, I mean,
respect that a lot.
honestly, at this point, she might. I don't know. I don't think she really needs a label at this point.
I think it's just for the marketing money, you know. I think
I guess, but she literally didn't market folklore. She put
that's
up a
true.
post. She put up a post and said, "Hey, I've been writing an album while in isolation, and collaborated with a couple people, and it's coming out like tomorrow at midnight, and a music video is also coming out." And that was it. And
And
it
this is
already
why
has
I
like, and the biggest song has like 40 million plays already.
yeah, and this is why I say it's awesome what's happening with the music industry, you know, and I really hope that one day she goes fully independent because she's done a lot speaking out for artists as well in regards to
Hmm.
royalties and going up against Spotify. We didn't even get into that. I mean,
Right.
there might be a Swiftcast part 2 down the line, so I really hope that she
That's
goes
true.
fully
Because
independent one day because from what you
I,
told me about like in the doc, hold on,
yeah.
Andrew,
No.
I'm gonna let you go in a second. Just let me finish. I gotta say, like, I think that it. Yikes! Cut that out. No, I'm just kidding. But
Yikes. We didn't even get into
I
that
had
really.
to. I had to. I had to. It's just all in good fun because obviously she came out on top, and so like this is just the thing outside of the music that the more I learned about this artist, I was already on board when I was a younger man, and I was like, well, she writes her own songs, and I hate pop music. Other than that, that's the reason I don't like pop music because I can't respect it, but I can respect her for writing her own music. So the more I learn, like you watching this doc, now I got to go watch it tonight. And the more I
It's
learn,
only
I'm
an
just
hour
like,
25.
damn, this is awesome. This girl knows what she's doing. She's a beast. She really is.
Yeah, listen, we might have to get into a second episode because I asked because like I've said, haven't been a fan for very long. visual bit.
Quick sec.
I haven't been a fan for very long, but I know people who are big fans of her for a long time, and I asked one of those fans like 13 questions. Ironic. Didn't even mean to do that, but I asked her like 13 questions just to get like a fan's perspective of it, and we didn't even really get into that either. And I don't know how much you want to get into that because
Well,
it
we
was a
have a
bunch of
little bit of time,
questions.
so I kind of wanted to just real quick, and we probably will revisit this, and I think we do a Max Martin episode as well down the line
Oh,
because
you know what? Listen, I'm already making a playlist called Master Max Martin, and it's just any song I see his name on it, it goes in that playlist.
send
I'm
that to
already
me. I'll
I'm
start
already at like
studying for it.
36.
But as we know, next week you're going to get to decide the topic. It seems like we're alternating, which I enjoy very much. So with that being said, I think the reason why I wanted to do this episode was originally just to talk about the new record Folklore, because I had a
which
feeling if there was
which
like
we barely did.
one chance, well, we have like 15 minutes now. We can't get into it because I thought,
True,
all right,
true.
I know he hates her, but I know she's awesome and I know he would like her music. If there was one record that could do it, it's Folklore. And I wasn't gonna try again if you didn't get hooked on this record. I was gonna be like, I tried, I'm done.
It's true.
Another big part of the art of war is knowing when to admit defeat. And
It's true.
so I was,
When Chris texted me and said, we were like, well, what are we talking about for the next episode? And he was like, well, have you listened to Folklore? And I don't remember the exact words I said, but if I can paraphrase, I believe what I said was no, but a friend of mine listened to it, said she didn't like it, so I have a feeling I'm not gonna like it.
right, and I had a feeling you would say something like that.
And
But
here I am a week later, having listened to all of her albums except two of them, and gotta say, haven't really found anything I haven't liked.
so this is what I wanted to ask you, and I think this would be a really great way to sort of end this brief overview. I think we could go on about this forever, but unfortunately, we just don't have the time for that. But we'll do this again. I think there's a lot to talk about with an artist this
I
big and
like I
popular.
like that hashtag, Chris. Good
Hashtag Sun Tzu.
hashtag.
Let's get it trending. Um,
Visual
oh
bit.
man. So with that being said, Andrew, what was it about Folklore that sort of changed this entire thought process you had on Taylor Swift?
Um, well, it's crazy because like I saw before I listened to it, I saw her post that was, like I wrote an album, I worked with people, and like I like the idea of folklore. It's like stories that like are true, but people have been telling them, so they're kind of embellished, but like not that much, and all this other stuff. And I read that, and like my immediate gut reaction, because I was still a hater at that point, I was like, ugh, so like dumb and pretentious, whatever, I don't care. But then like I thought about it, and I was like, but that is kind of a cool concept. Like folklore is a cool thing, and whatever, blah blah blah. And then like I saw that she was just dropping an album, and I was like, that's kind of crazy. Um, hmm, let's see. And I started listening to it, and the first song, The One, like I remember listening to it and being like, okay, I need to separate the art from the artist, because if I keep telling myself like I'm listening to Taylor Swift, I'm going to be annoyed, and I'm going to look for things to be bothered by. Like I'm going to try and not like this album. So I'm like, whatever, let me just listen and pretend either it's somebody else, or like pretend that like I don't know, like I'm working on this song and this person just sent it to me like
It's
Chris
true. Keep
Chris's
going.
visual gags, man. And I was like, let me try to pretend that like I'm working on this song too, so like I want to like it. And I started listening to the album like that, and I was like, okay, The One is a pretty good song. Song the song slaps. So I was like, that's a pretty good start to the album. Then Cardigan comes on, and I saw that that was the single, and like everybody was like, oh my god, I freaking love this song. So I listened to that one, I was like, definitely solid. I don't know if I would have made this one a single, but I do like it. Then it's followed up by The Last Great American Dynasty, and that one I was like, hold on a second. These lyrics are kind of weird. I don't
Yes,
completely
man.
understand this story, and I'm not a huge fan of the story, but the song is so good that even though I don't really give a crap about the lyrics, like it's so good. And
So
I'm just
interesting. The lyrics make that song for me.
yeah, that's really funny. I think it's like everything else about it that makes it so good. And I'm just and like next year when, or in like fucking 5 months from now or something, when the next Punkos Pop goes out, if this
Oh,
song
is
isn't
that
on it,
happening?
it has to, dude. It always happens. If people are still buying it, it's gonna happen. Listen, you don't have to buy it, but all I'm saying is that this song, if someone takes the Last Great American Dynasty and makes it into a pop punk jam, like that's gonna be a pop punk banger. I'm just saying I feel like it lends itself really well to do that. And that was also my big thought when I was listening to it before I really shed the full hater blockers. I was like, I like this song a lot, but I just wish it was I wish that this song was on like Lover or 1989, so it would be like a fully produced pop banger, because like it could have been. But I still love it as it is. And then Exile with Bon Iver, like I don't really listen, I'm down to do that kind of segment. I have a lot of big thoughts.
Big thoughts.
Then Exile featuring Bon Iver. I don't listen to Bon Iver. It's not because I don't like him. It's not like for any
Me
reason.
neither.
I just never got to him.
But I want to after
Yeah,
hearing this song.
yeah. I mean,
I
everybody seems to
I
love him.
enjoyed it. I
I
enjoyed it a
like
lot.
I like his singing, but I have to say that this is probably my least favorite song on the album. Like
Mm.
it's just like if like it feels like such a cool build, and it builds the whole time, but then I feel like there's just no real payoff. I want it to like get huge and like it's like it sounds like there's like an orchestra and then like a drum set, like obviously not in this exact way, but similar to the way that Your Guardian Angel by Red Jumpsuit Apparatus, like the whole song just builds and then the last chorus is huge like that. That's what I wanted for this song,
So
and it
what
didn't
I'm
happen.
gathering is that this album made you think a lot from
It
track
made me
1 to
think a
track
lot.
16. Can I just say real quick, because I necessarily don't know
I
if
don't
we
want
have
to.
time to go in
I'm not gonna.
song by song.
I'm not gonna do that. But I just want to say my favorite ones are Last Great American Dynasty, Seven, August, Invisible String, and Peace.
I agree with that. I would have to throw in Mirror Ball.
That one's good too.
I enjoy that one. I gotta say, to be honest with you, I was scared at the first song, the first line of the first song. I was like, oh no, like I
I
love this
don't. I don't
backdrop.
remember what it is.
I love this vibe. I love this setting. But then she comes out with like this super hip lyric. I forget exactly what it was, but Andrew, pull it up real quick, will you? Come on, Greg, pull it up. Greg, while Greg pulls it up, I just was like, oh no, but I had to give it a chance. I had to give it a chance because I had heard that she was back to
I'm
her
doing
roots.
good. I'm on some new shit.
Yeah, I wasn't. I was like, ooh, that
You
gets
didn't
me a
like
little
the I'm on
scared.
some new shit.
I did not like that. I did not
Yeah.
like that. I
That's
felt
how.
it could have
That's
instantly
similarly how.
discredited the
That's
record.
similarly how I felt during some songs on Reputation, where I'm like, is she rapping?
Right. Not a
Like I
fan
don't
of that.
understand.
Bad Blood did unfortunately really well in that regard.
I know.
That's just what I'll say. But I mean, it's one of those things where I gave it a chance, and I just remember like getting to track 3, The Last Great American Dynasty, and I was just like, so even though this isn't like the most political song, she at least understands history, and she's like putting a little bit of like American history into a song, at least from my perspective, the way I interpreted
Well,
it.
I don't know
And
if you
she's like
read the
pointing out
her
like the
her post when she put the album out, but she was saying that like
no,
I don't
I
know if
don't
it's
use
every
social media
song.
except to promote my own selfish endeavors.
Right. I don't know if it was about every song, but she was saying that like a lot of the songs were just her telling stories. Like she would think of a character and then just write a story. So like that's why it's called folklore, is because it's a bunch of stories that
That's cool.
so
I want to do an episode on Americana, which I think is an awesome style of music, and that song feels very Americana in the sense that it like tells a story of like an entrepreneurial type person and just sort of like taking like life
well,
by
it reminded me of like The Great Gatsby.
yeah, exactly,
Hmm.
exactly. It was just cool. It was like
Yeah.
to get this from an artist of that size is it could
Right.
polarize some of her audience. It might turn some
Right.
people off.
Exactly. Just like it turned me off a little bit.
So that's where I knew I was hooked. I was like, wow, this is bold. Track 3, because everyone's going to at least listen to this record once if they're at
Right.
least on that zeitgeist, on that wavelength that we're on.
They'll at least get to like the middle of the album, so they're definitely listening to track 3.
And I loved it too, man. I just thought like the music was awesome. I think the mixes and the production just really complemented it. I, it just really felt like this was her sitting down with her guitar, being locked indoors, and just writing up some songs. I don't know if this was written during quarantine. I don't really know the timeline of this record.
That's what she said. She said she wrote it in isolation and then,
Makes so much sense. I
you
loved
know,
it.
had
I
the
loved it so
collaborators
much.
afterwards.
That is so cool. that's like a way to take this bad situation, this quarantine, and just show people like you don't just have to like. I read an article the other day. Sugar consumption is on the rise. You don't have to just eat ice cream and sit around in your sweatpants all day. You can get something done. You know, I respected that.
I've been eating a lot of sugar.
It's a big problem right now. But yeah, so I mean, I just thought this record was bold to do at this point in time, and especially the direction as well, to
Right.
just go from Lover to this, and
Mm-hmm.
just to like drop it out of nowhere. I just thought
Well,
it was
I'm
also
sure
cool, man.
I'm sure it wasn't necessarily the plan, but
It probably wasn't. It probably wasn't. Again, her perseverance, her fearlessness, I think, is a big reason why I respect it. To be honest with you,
fearless. She is fearless.
Andrew, I honestly could talk about this for like another 2 hours. I think we
Surprisingly, I could also talk about this for another few hours.
I think we scratched the surface, and
Yeah,
we'll have to come back to
I
this.
didn't get into the questions. We didn't get into the Kanye thing. We could
No, we
really
didn't.
dive into these albums because I know that we could probably have 4 episodes about just 1989.
Yeah, we definitely will. We have a couple good ideas coming up, and if you guys are liking the new style of the show, let us know in the comments below.
Yes, and if you want us to, talk about these episodes that we mentioned, because I know we mentioned episodes in our last one too, that we'd want to do like a Beatles episode and, like a
Martin Cast,
whatever Martin
where we
cast,
talk
a
about
Jonas Brothers
Martin
episode.
Johnson and Max Martin.
Right, 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 right. Of course, of course. Which, what song
I am
was it?
gonna want to cover the new Night Game record when it drops. By the way.
Hold on, I sent you a picture. I just got to pull this up real quick because
No
I'm
rush. Tell me live.
99% sure that Martin Johnson wrote a song with her,
Oh
but
yeah, you were telling me about that. I can just
I
Martin
don't have it
Johnson, for
here.
those of you guys who don't know, was the former lead singer of Boys Like Girls, and he has become a songwriter since, and also has an incredible band called The Night Game, and they're awesome. And there's a bunch of pictures right now. Um,
I would say the Night Game's more of a group.
yeah.
Actually, it's more of just a project. It's kind of just him, and then he just has musicians. But
Oh, they had a little thing in 2008 apparently.
that's not
So
surprising. Either way, they have a song that he co-wrote a song with her, and I think that's pretty cool.
yeah, and there's a couple pictures of them on Google right now, performing together. So Martin Johnson, he knows people, and we'll cover The Night Game. But
He gets around that music industry.
wow, he went there. All right. Well, Andrew, I think we had a really good episode. And so, with that being said, we do have to wrap it up. Andrew, why don't you tell the people where they can find us, what we do on a regular basis here on the show, and what to expect from us in the coming weeks?
Well, if you want to listen to us, you can find us anywhere. Spotify podcasts are on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Radio Public, some other ones that have podcasts. We're on there.
Stitcher,
Stitcher's the one that I couldn't remember. Thank you, Chris.
Google Podcasts.
That one too. That's not made up at all.
There's a bunch.
If you want to watch us, we're on youtube.com/talking with Andrew and Chris, where you can see all the visual gags that Chris is killing and throwing at me literally all the time. I haven't done a single one because he has all the power on StreamYard, but I think that's the way to do it. Right. I could do a new segment via these visual gags. So get to YouTube, like, subscribe, leave some comments, give us some feedback. We have an email, technically.
Ask talking with Andrew and Chris at gmail.com if you want to send us a subject, topic, if you will. We'll cover it.
We're also on all the social medias. Chris and mine's personals are right here on the screen.
Yeah.
We're also at Talkin' Podcast on all the social medias. Check us out. Chris has his own stuff on there too. Talkin' TV and on YouTube he does his own stuff too sometimes. I'm going to be coming out with another podcast very soon called Anime Forenzu, which is going to be a lot of fun. My pal
Yeah.
Sarah,
I don't
so
want to
stay
butcher that,
tuned.
so I'm not
Stay
going to
tuned
type
for
it in,
that.
but the graphics
That's
look awesome. I got to see a little sneak peek of that. I'm very excited for your show. Yeah, so listen, guys, we are going to start posting, as we have been, every Monday, Wednesday, Friday on YouTube. The episode goes up on Monday, and if you don't have patience, if you just want the best parts of the show, well, we're giving you a few clips on Wednesdays and Fridays. All episodes go live at 2 p.m. on YouTube. They go live on all audio platforms every Monday at 5 a.m. We are back. We are better than ever. Follow us. Get hip to it. This is the new style of the show. Don't worry. Don't worry. We will still have guests come on, but people are unreliable and everyone's under a lot of stress right now. So we just kind of don't want to put the pressure on someone to be like, oh man, like I can't make today. I'm so sorry. You guys don't have an episode now. We want to fight that, you know? Andrew, what do you got to say?
And Chris and I have a lot of things that we just want to talk about that we don't want to have to talk over a guest to say.
Right. So we'll start to integrate the old format with the new format, but the show's
Yes, we're
changing.
gonna have we're gonna have guests on to talk about Taylor Swift, is
Yeah.
what he's saying. This is slowly going to transition into a purely Taylor Swift podcast, so get ready for that.
Yeah, for the first time in a few months, I've been picking up my guitar and I've been writing some music and I'm just brushing off the cobwebs. The first songs you always write aren't even worthy of a voice memo, but just to get that thought process rolling again, we have a lot in the works. So, again, go follow my other show, my other podcast called Talkin' TV, proudly a part of the Talkin' Podcast Network. We
I
post
was even
videos.
on a couple episodes myself.
He was more recently our Avatar: The Last Airbender episode, where we cover a modern classic. We post every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Be on the lookout. I know for a fact Andrew and his co-host Sarah are recording their newest episode, their first episode of Anime Frenzu, and it's coming soon, only on the Talking Podcast Network. So, with that being said, we have a lot in the works. This show is back. It is, I'd say, better than ever. We have a bunch of topics coming up in the next few weeks, and we're excited to have you guys join us. And we will go live if you subscribe. So please help us make that possible.
Yes, your support literally means the world, and we need all the support we can get to give you all the content that you can consume.
Yeah. So with that being said, we're out of here, guys. And as always, stay sweet.